Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the third video in our I Stand With Ukraine series. Last video we built the figurine, the soldier, so we got him done. This video I want to do all the prep work on the Humvee to get it ready for paint, so I can paint the soldier and the Humvee at the same time. So let's get started on that. So this is the Revell Snap Tight Humvee in 25th scale. It's got the tow missile launcher on it. It's actually a really nice kit. I got this from a friend of mine. They had them on sale and he grabbed a bunch, and I was actually going to use it for a different project, but then that project got kind of sidelined, so I figured this would be perfect. That drip rail just needed a tiny bit of work. All right. I mean, these are snapped together, so you know, things like the D-rings and the pinto hitch there, you know, they're all molded in, which, I mean, it's detailed. You get the idea. They're a little light on detail, but you know, I'm sure if it was a glue together, those would have, you know, the cap and glue on over the ring and it would swing back and forth and stuff. But I mean, they're really nice. I mean, I am not complaining by a long shot, and for what I plan to do with this thing, it's going to be perfect. So that's the body. So next up is the interior. Okay. So I haven't been in one of these in decades, but if I remember right, they were just the vehicle color, and then the seats were just green. They were just that canvas green that the Army does everything in. So painting this should be easy, is the point I'm trying to make. Okay, set that aside for a minute. Okay. Go with that with a little 600 just to make double sure that it's okay. So on this, I'm just using 400 on this one and 600 on this one. Okay, so there's that. And then it looks like all the seats are the same, so. Beginning part of modeling is always a little boring. Always just a lot of cleanup. But as I was talking about in the last video, you know, it's pretty necessary, and it's really one of the skills that you know makes you good. If you do this, you know, the practice, like I said. Even if you keep doing it on models that you don't really plan on, you know, doing anything real special with, because this one I think I'm going to build some. I'm not 100% sure yet, so don't get pissed if I don't do that. But what I'm thinking of doing is having a set like this and having a jersey barrier kind of like right here. And then I was going to have him standing in front of it, and it was going to look like a little stream of water runs behind the jersey barrier. And they just kind of park there to kind of semi-hide it. And then I was going to hide... This is detailed, but not like super detailed. It looks good. I mean, it looks really good. When it's done, it'll look really good. And I was going to have that, but then I was going to just kind of make it look like they just kind of tossed a camo net over the top of it and called it done. So... that was my plan. So you're really not going to see a lot of the vehicle, but that's what it's going to be. And the real question mark in that idea is the jersey barrier. I might or might not scratch build one. I haven't decided yet. Mostly because now that I think about it, I'm not sure if they even have standardized cement barriers like that in the Ukraine. They might have something similar, but like different sized or something. So having a US spec jersey barrier might not be the best idea. So I might or might not do that. If I don't, still going to be the same thing. I'm going to kind of cover it with the camo net, and then I'll just have him standing right here instead. It'll just be parked, and he'll just be standing here, and the camo net will be kind of covering it. Or, if scale camo nets are as big of a pain in the butt as real life camo nets are, maybe I won't even do a camo net. It'd be easier just to detail out that tow missile launcher. Okay. I'm probably going to end up just Googling a lot of this to figure out the dash and stuff, because I don't. So, I enlisted in Utah Army National Guard back in 96? 90. It was a change of the year. I don't remember. I think it was 96 to 97. Anyway, and it was Charlie Battery, 1st to 145th is who I was with. And I did that. I did 3 months of that. And I've got to mess around with the truck and the gun. We did a solid weekend. We did a solid weekend drill once, and we got out. We got the chance to drive around Camp Williams and laid the gun and did a mock fire, and then packed everything up, and then scooted to a different location and relayed the guns, and it was pretty cool. I don't know. It's a super long story. I wasn't really excited about the way it was going. Nobody told me anything, and then everybody always acted like they were pissed off because I didn't know what was going on. And so it was fun, but the entire, the drill part was cool, but the rest of it kind of sucked. But anyway, not to go into that. But anyway, I got to deal with the Humvees, and we were running the 5 tons with just the single tires, the Bigfoot tires, and we were doing those with the M198s, and that's what I crewed on. So I got to sit in the back of the 198 and fuse rounds. That was going to be my job when I got back from training. And then when I went to training, the place I was working at when I enlisted, hem-hawed around for a little while, and then the minute I screwed something up, they fired me. They were not happy that I had enlisted, so they were like, they openly were like, oh, what are we going to do? And we hired you, and then you're going to be gone for almost a year. And then it was like, directly afterwards, like, oh, well, we're just unhappy with you, what you're doing, and you're fired. And it's like, yeah, I got you. So anyway, I'd been out of work for pretty much since I enlisted. It took them about a week to pull out their big "we're unhappy with you" scheme. So anyway, when I went to ship for basic, it was January. I think it was January 20. It would have been January 2017 if I think about it for a minute. And when I went to ship, I was 15 pounds overweight, and they were going to recycle me, but the recruiter was pissed off because I had got the highest ASVAB score he claims he'd ever seen. And he was super pushing me to go with the 19th Special Forces because, that's what everybody wanted to do, but nobody could score high enough to get in. So they had an opening, and he wanted to fill it. And anyway, I said no. Well, honestly, he kind of had me talked into it. And then when I did the research to figure out what it was and what I'd have to do, and I talked to a lot of guys about what they did, and during drill and stuff, and I was just like, I don't want to do years and years of training and do all that stuff. And I don't know. A lot of guys I've heard a lot of guys, oh, you just couldn't hack it. It's like, yeah, I know. That's why I didn't do it. I didn't want to get into it and start doing the training and then decide halfway through, this isn't really what I wanted to do anyway. So I just didn't do it initially, and the recruiter was a little upset with me about it. And so when I failed the height weight, they just kicked me out. The funny part of the story is, so I go to ship, and the doctor comes out and runs us through the pre-ship physical, and we get all done with all the guys that were going, and he walks out and he's like, "Croon!" And I'm like, yes, sir. And he's like, "Come here." And I'm like, okay. So I walked in, and he says, have you been running? Have you been doing, exercises and stuff? And I was like, well, not really. And he's like, yeah, you failed the height weight. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm like, oh crap, okay, what do I got to do? Because I had just, you know, I lost my job and it was Christmas time, and I know it's on me. I didn't do what I was supposed to have done. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys who are listening to this are going, holy crap, I would have been training all the time. I'd have had it set up. And in hindsight, I should have, but I was young and super dumb and just thought I could squeak by on the deal. Anyway, so I said, okay, well, you know, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, you got to get within, he's like, I'm telling you, you need to get into better shape, period. You're going to go, you're going to do it, you know, you're going to do it anyway. If you could do it at home, it's a lot easier on you than doing it during basic. And okay, and he says, so, you know, what are we going to do? And I said, well, you know, I'll take it a lot more seriously and I'll do this. And he says, okay, cool. So he says, we're gonna kick all your paperwork back to your recruiter, and then he's gonna get a hold of you, and we're gonna set you up another date to send you through. We're just basically gonna recycle you. I'm like, sounds good to me. So I go home, and everybody's like, you know, what the hell? You were supposed to be gone. I'm like, yeah, you know, I failed the height weight, so they're going to recycle me. Oh, okay. And I had talked with a bunch of people about it and stuff, and they were like, oh yeah, no, you know, it's not a big deal, and blah, blah, blah. And so they told me, go home and wait for your recruiter to call. So I went home, and I didn't hear from them the following week. So I'm like, well, you know, I don't have a job, and I'm, you know, not going to be getting any money in, so I need to get this figured out so I can figure out if I need to keep living off my credit card or if I need to go find some work, because I didn't know if they meant like they're going to recycle me in like a week or a month, or, you know, I mean, it took them a lot longer to get me in to begin with than I thought it was going to, so I was really afraid that I was going to be stuck home for like 6-8 months. So I waited the week, and then I called my recruiter, and he wouldn't answer his phone. So I kept leaving him messages and said, you know, explained to him what had happened and everything, and I didn't hear from him. And then I left it, and then I was doing the running, and I was getting in shape, and I was getting ready to, you know, I was trying to get ready to go. And then after the 3 months, or not the 3 months, after the month after I would have got back from doing all the training and stuff, our first sergeant calls me, and he's like, and he was upset. Not going to use the language he used, because I do want kids to be able to watch my channel, but he asked me where I was at and what did I think I was doing. And I said, I'm home and I'm waiting for my recruiter to call because they're going to recycle me. And he was like, what? And he just exploded. And this was a guy that I watched yell at a second lieutenant about yelling at the guys about wearing their cover indoors. So this wasn't a guy you wanted to mess with too much. Excuse me. So anyway, so he says, what's going on? And I said, well, this is what happened, and this is what they told me. And, you know, I call the recruiter every couple of weeks, and I haven't heard back from them, so I'm assuming that they're working on it. You know, maybe he doesn't. My thought was that he didn't have answers to give me. To be honest, that's how dumb I was. And so the first sergeant says, well, you hang tight, and I am going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm like, okay. You know, again, this is a guy that I figured had it squared away. So at that point, I had found a job, and I thought, well, you know, obviously he's got to call somebody and they got to call somebody, and it's probably going to take 3 or more months to get this going anyway, irregardless of them actually, you know, doing anything. So I got the job, and you know, I called the recruiter, and then I called the first sergeant again about a month later and didn't get anything from anybody. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So I just started working, and then honestly it kind of turned into one of those things where it wasn't really the forefront of my mind, and so like the phone calls kept getting farther and farther apart. And then about a year later, I get a letter in the mail from Department of the Army saying that they discharged me. And I was like, what is going on? So anyway, that's my military experience. I know it's not great, but you know, I joke about, yeah, I have a 214. But all joking aside, you know, I'm not happy with that. You know, I enlisted. I wanted to do that. I was excited. I was gonna shoot field artillery. It was pretty cool. But anyway, to bring it into, it's probably a super long and boring story. I have dealt with the Humvees and the 5 tons and the 198s. We worked around those, and we had a Hemet in our group, and oh, that thing was so cool. They were we did our drill one time out at Camp Williams, and they had it driving around, and the roads were a little too narrow. I mean, even us with the guns, even us in the 5 tons with the guns behind us, a lot of guys are having to stop and kind of back up and readjust to get around the corner properly. And that dude in the Hemet just, man, he pulled up and he stopped, and I don't know if he like threw it in low gear or what, but he just stepped on it, and that thing just right up the side of the hill, and he just drove right off. It was like, whoa. So yeah, it was kind of cool. Our my gun sergeant was pretty cool. We had the 2 of them, and I don't remember our gun sergeant's last name. The other guy that helped with them, his last name was Sergeant War, and he was working on becoming a doctor, I believe. It was something in the medical field. He was either completing his schooling in nursing or being a doctor. I can't remember, but he was super cool. He was super laid back. He had fought in the first Gulf War, and he was a nurse in the first Gulf War, and he was working on becoming a full-fledged doctor after that. And he was pretty cool, and he knew like he was like super squared away with like all the soldiers' tasks and stuff. So he knew all that stuff. He was pretty cool. He was always working with us on things. He was a good guy. So yeah, I never really said much about it, and then several years, well, it was when I was working with TSA, so it had to have been like 07, 08, I don't know. I worked with the guy who used to be a recruiter, and we were talking about it, and I was telling him what happened to me, and he was like, oh yeah, you upset your recruiter. He's like, yeah, that sounds like somebody was kind of on a vengeance mission with you. I said, what, why, you know? And he explained to me that, you know, hard to fill billets usually pay better when you can get a recruit to enlist in them. So you get some guy who's, you know, and it doesn't matter if the guy does good or not. And it doesn't matter if the guy does good or not in the billet. You just got to fill it. So, crap. Oh, well, I'll grab that in a second. So anyway, so he was explaining it to me that the guy probably had his heart set on a big payday because he thought he was going to fill a specialty billet, and then I wanted to do the one job that really wouldn't be that big of a deal. And so kind of when he got the chance to throw me under the bus, he took it. But I don't know what happened. I'd like to think better of people than that, but who knows. All I know is I'm not going to stand here and claim I'm the innocent victim in all of it. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. If I had been running and exercising and doing the stuff that I should have, I wouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. So, but anyway, it changed the way my life went. Realistically, if I had done that, I probably wouldn't be doing this. And there's a few reasons for that. The first one being I really wanted to get into an armory unit. I wanted to work with the M1 Abrams. And if I had gotten the Army time from National Guard, I was actually planning on trying to find out if I could go active duty. And if I had, I would have stayed with that through the Gulf War. So instead of taking the job at TSA in 02, I would have been waiting on doing a deployment to Iraq or Afghanistan. And if I didn't take the TSA job, I never would have became so unhappy with TSA and their stupidity that I would quit and start, I would have started my own business. And so I never would have been here. The whole scale finishes thing actually is because that guy tried to screw me over with the military stuff. So again, like I said before, not something I'm happy about, but certainly not something I'm standing by now saying, geez, things would be so much better if I had done that. Okay, so I'm getting pretty close to being done with this here. I'm going to okay, and that was done. This needs to be moved out of the way. It's kind of the problem of working with a small desk. You never have enough room to really do much of anything. Okay. Take the 600 and just kind of roll all over this. So, yeah. So anyway, so, you know, I like military stuff. I think it's kind of cool. I keep up with it. I have a really good friend who's a gunsmith, so I still get to deal with firearms and stuff every now and then with him, and I have some guns of my own, and, you know, it's fun. It's good. Okay. Nice. You got the toe. Ha, that's cool. Okay, so let's see. So that's all of that. Let me see. Oops, here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, and then that's all going to be just the green, and then the glass goes in. And I'm going to do those in the green. Okay, so, okay. So I guess the only thing we really need to glue together is the toe launcher. So let's get that done. I think everything else... Oh! Yeah, I know you guys just saw me do that. Oh well. All right. Let me see. Oh, I can't have enough clamps. There's one thing I want you to learn about modeling. You can never have too many clamps. There's a lot of similarities between modeling and woodworking, and that's definitely one of them. Okay. And then just got to put the optics box on here. There's that. And I'll make sure that's glued on. Or glued on. Screwed on. Not glued on. Good Lord. Last thing I want is that to be glued on. Okay. Alright. And then that's it. So I will let that dry. And on the next video, guaranteed, we are going to be spraying paint because I don't think we could do anything else without spraying paint. So we'll get on that on the next episode. So these little spring clamps we sell. We sell the tweezers. We sell the glue. We sell the sanding sponge and pads, of course, the sticks and the pads. We sell those. So if you want any of that stuff that you've seen me use so far in the video, just head on over to scalefinishes.com. And while you're there, use code YouTube10 and you'll get 10% off anything you buy. Thanks for watching till the end, and I'll see you on the next video.